Hi, thanks for joining us. I'm Tom with Midwest Native Skills, and we're here today to talk a little bit about some more common tinder materials for your fire making. As you probably know, we run a survival school here in Northeast Ohio, and upcoming we have our weekend survival class coming up in early July. We have our plant class coming up. We still have a few slots available in the second class. The first one's filled up. And you might want to check out our website for upcoming classes. We have a variety of them through the summer and through the fall. And you probably know the website is survivalschool.com. Since we're talking about tinder, now you probably know about all the natural tinder there is, but you probably have some tricks of your own. So if you want to write in, I always like to see who's out there so I can say hello to you. But if you have any tinders that you came up with or that you make at home, I know a lot of people have little tricks. They'll put some material in an egg crate and pour wax in and different things like that. So if you have any unique ideas, send them in to us on the comments. So I'd like to read them to everyone and maybe give me a tip that I never heard of. Now naturally at the school we tend to do more primitive skills, more natural tinders, and I'm sure you know the natural tinders. You're going to be getting the inner bark of cedar trees. You're going to be getting the inner bark of the tulip poplar. You're going to be getting dried pine needles, dried grasses, cattail heads, rabbit tobacco as coal extenders, different things like that. But if you're going camping, you might just take some other tinder material with you for a quick fire starter. You're not always going to be foraging in the woods. So we want to hit that too. So that's what I'm decided to focus on today. Just some things you might take with you or some things you might not know about that you could use to start your campfire with. Now, one of the things I always hear about is that old Boy Scout trick. Oh, you can always use dryer lint. And that's true to an extent. I went and got some dryer lint, but there are two types of dryer lint. This is, I pulled out, and this is from a load we did with cotton and polyester. We just throw everything in. And this one I did today purposely just doing cotton towels. Now, if you do cotton and polyester, the cotton will burn, but the polyester will just smolder. So this is really a second rate, doesn't do very well. The pure cotton usually does much better. So I just brought both out. My lighter here. I thought we'd light both of them and just to see a little bit what they do when we light them. So this is the cotton and polyester. It doesn't do too bad. Probably was a lot of cotton in there. Usually it just smokes an awful lot. And the pure cotton. A more steady flame. They both work pretty well, but if you have very much more polyester there, it's just going to smoke. Neither one, I would say, would be a good tinder. Yeah, if that was in the bottom of my teepee fire, I would say both work poorly. So even though they will burn, I would give that probably a 2 on a scale from 1 to 10. So that's not going to be my go-to for making a fire. What else do I have here for some tinder? Now, jute tinder, you know, this is always good to carry with you. Now, this comes in jute twine, or you can get the pre-shredded jute. Now, if you're going to be going out in the woods, I always recommend you carry jute twine with you as kind of a backup. What I do, I always look for the natural tinder. But then if I get into a situation where can't find it, or it's damp or wet, you can always sit down, take about 10 or 15 minutes, pick apart your jute twine, till it's nice and fluffy like this, and then you could put this inside your teepee fire. Hit that with a match, and now I would give that closer to a 10 on the scale from 1 to 10. So works pretty well. Put a little air to it, it goes pretty well. Now you might have heard of something called Fatwood, or some people call it candlewood. Typically this grows down south, and it's a pine, but it's a highly resinous pine. You can buy this, Plow and Hearth has it around Christmas time. You can buy a whole box for about $20 for your fireplace. Comes in sticks like this, so if you do have a fireplace and you want to get a box of it, you can throw a few in your survival bag or your bug out bag. And the resin makes it burn very readily. Now you're thinking, okay, I don't live down south, what good does it do to me? Well, if you live up north where I live, if you find a downed pine tree, go to the trunk, and whenever there's a branch coming off the trunk, right at the crotch here, if this was the main trunk and here's the branch coming off, right in this crotch in here, you're going to find a shiny, waxy type material. If you take your knife and scrape that, that is the fatwood. So most pine trees will have this right at this crotch here. So take your knife, scrape that out, and that would be your fatwood. So on this, I just took my knife and I just shaved a piece of this off. And let's see if we could get some of this fatwood to light. And you can see it lights pretty easily, and I don't know if you can see that, but there's black smoke coming off the flame. That just shows you the high oil content in the wood. So that would be really good. That's pretty much a 10 out of 10 on my scale for tinder in the bottom of my teepee fire. So if you had a lot of these, and especially if you got several sticks of this going, or use this as the 3 sticks in your tripod, you have a pretty good chance of getting your fire going. So fatwood isn't a bad thing. Now I'll leave it up to you if you want to carry this with you in your bug out bag or in your knapsack, but cut this up, maybe have a couple sticks for an emergency, might not be a bad idea. Now Native Americans, especially in the north, Canada, Maine, Pennsylvania, never could understand why the white men had trouble making fire, especially if there were birch trees around. The birch bark, now this happens to be from paper birch, it's very similar to the fatwood. It has a very, very high oil content. Now this happens to be from the paper birch. You're probably very familiar with this. And this bark is from a river birch, and that's this tree right next to me here. It's a little different, very papery, very thin, but both of them burn pretty nicely. So you get a handful of the river birch, burns pretty well, and the paper birch, even in the wind, here's a real test in the wind. Now you see the paper birch has more black smoke coming off of it, hence a higher oil content. So I would say I'd give that the river birch probably about a 8. I'd give this one a 10. I'd want a handful of this in my fire. Now what I like about this, it'll pack nice and flat rather than carrying a couple big hunks of this. This will pack real flat in the bottom of a pack or whatever, and wouldn't even know it's there. And again, that wouldn't be my go-to every time I needed a fire, but if I had wet wood, wet tinder, that would be a good backup. What else do we have here? I skipped lunch. I hope no one minds if I have a little lunch while I'm talking here. Okay. Things like Doritos, Cheetos, and Fritos also make good fire starters. I'm not sure which one's best, so let's try them all. Now naturally, I'm talking about the oil content in the chips. Here we go. Okay. So, it's going to be hard to light them all at once, so this isn't a scientific, but we can get a pretty good idea. Okay, that's the Frito.
Hold it up a little bit. There.
See how the Cheeto works. It was a little bit harder to light. On the ground there, the Frito is still burning in the wet ground, so. Okay, the Cheeto might be better for eating than fire starting, but let's see the verdict on the Dorito.
Teresa and Arthur have joined us.
Hi, Teresa and Arthur. We're just burning my dinner here. Well, I don't know. The Cheeto is coming up. I'd say it's a toss-up between Doritos and Fritos for the best fire starter, and I'm thinking I'm tending toward the Doritos. So again, if you're out and you're not hungry, Doritos or Fritos are your best choice, and as a backup, you can always use your Cheetos. So, what else do we have here? We all carry Purell now, and this probably isn't going to surprise anyone, and this might be hard to see, but Purell is a fantastic fire starter. That's it. Just because of the alcohol content. Purell, I'm not sure if it says here, but I believe it's at least 80% alcohol. So up here,
Yeah, it's burning hot enough you really can't see it.
yeah, it's burning hot enough. Let's see if I can get a leaf here, even though it's a green leaf. But believe me, it's burning. So, oh yeah, it's burning. If you have Purell, you can always just squirt that into your fire as an emergency accelerant. It's going to burn quick, it's going to burn with a blue flame, so you won't be able to see it, but you can use it in a pinch. Okay, let's go to some other commercially available things. Coghlan has something called a fire paste out. Interesting. I'm not sure if I'm going to carry a tube with me, but I just wanted to show you you can squeeze a line of this around, rub it around your on the bottom of your teepee fire or fire lay. Again, light it. What I like about the Coghlan, it's very easy to light. Some of these fire starters are tough to light. Once you get them lit, they're good, but the Coghlan goes up really quick. And you're going to see it burns for a reasonable amount of time. So if you're looking for something to carry, the Coghlan fire starter, the paste, might not be a bad idea. This is something that was advertised. It's called WetFire. Now they advertise this because they would light it, throw it in a stream, and would be floating down the stream, actually burning. Good advertising gimmick. See how easy it is to light. Let's see how long it burns. Comes in these cubes, and again, the cubes won't lay flat. Rid of our burrito. Not too bad to light. Nice cube, and like I said, it'll float. It'll go down the stream burning. So the WetFire is an option, but again, it's not going to lay flat in your pack or pouch. But that in the bottom of a teepee fire would sure be a help on a wet, cold day. Again, anyone out there have any techniques that you guys use for making your own fire starters? Like I said, here's one that we do carry. A friend of mine makes these. He calls it a Tinder Cookie. Basically, he's taken some facial pads, the round ones, and he's dipped them in wax. Now, the way they sit here, they're tough to light. So the way you use them, if you break them apart, now this thing will burn for quite a long time. So break it apart, and then you would actually lay it down, get some of the cotton fibers like that. And I need this fire to light it. Once it gets going, the wax will burn for quite a long time. Problem with these, little tough getting started, but once they go, they go. That's what you have to worry about a little about making these. People say, okay, I want to use a lot of wax, I want it to burn a long time, which is a good thing, but the more wax you use, the harder it is to light them. Once it's going, it'll go. And if this would be, you'd have to tip this up or down on in your fire lay like that, and then it'll keep burning. And that will burn for quite a long time. So if you're making these, err on the side of using less wax than too much wax. Live fire is another product. This comes in a real nice tin, and this, the purpose of this, you would light this right in the tin. My hands are all waxy now. cotton in here. You have to scrape it up a little bit. So you would use this, you could put this inside your fire to light it, and it's kind of reusable. So once you did that, you would just slide, put this in your fire, start your fire, make sure your wood gets started. At that point, hopefully you'd have some gloves, you could take it out, and then you could slide the tin over it to extinguish your fire. And once it's cooled, put it back in your pack and you can use it again. And then you need to light it again. Don't have waxy hands when you try using a lighter. Well, it would relight if I didn't have waxy hands. You get the idea. But this is called Live Fire. Nice idea. Comes in little bigger tins.
What was the name of it again?
Live Fire. LIVEFIRE. Now you can see our WetFire is still burning, and this Tinder Cookie, which, remember, it was a big cookie, I broke up and used about a quarter of it. So there would be 4 fires out of this. Is still going really strong here. Now, one old favorite, really 2 old favorites. I mentioned this before, and this is my Landmann fire starters. And I want to do a little time test on this. This is the flat one. I like it because it's flat. I like it because it's easy to ignite. And again, this one, you can just it's easy to light. Come on here. Always is easy to light. There it goes. And then I would just put this under some wood, and since they're flat, I can carry a pack of 5 of them, and they take up practically no space. They'll burn for between 6 and 8 minutes. Create an awful lot of heat, and so they're a 10 out of 10 on my list. This is the one I like to carry. It's my go-to, just because of the flat size. If I want something more, the Tinder Cookie is also a pretty reliable one. Now, what if you want to make one at home? Probably all heard the simple, take a cotton ball, rub a little Vaseline on it, and you have a fire starter. Well, how do they work? Let's find out. By the way, these are getting to be rare unless you go to a gun show or some of these prepper shows they have. This is an old 35 millimeter film canister. They're usually round, or some you can get in an oval shape. They have a nice tight fitting lid. Well, since 35 millimeter cameras are a thing of the past now, they're antiques. They don't make 35 millimeter film very much anymore. So these are hard to get, but if you can, they're nice to carry things like cotton balls in. So, take some ordinary Vaseline. Cotton balls are cheap. And when you buy cotton balls, make sure they're 100% cotton. A lot of times you'll get cotton balls for taking off makeup or whatever, and they're not cotton, they're synthetic. So make sure you read the package. Get some normal Vaseline. You can see these are burning for quite a long time. And just spread Vaseline all over the cotton ball. Now, what I like to do, I like to leave just a little bit of the cotton uncovered, because that'll make it ignite real quick. Now, what also is nice, if you do cover the entire ball with the Vaseline, it makes it waterproof. So I'm going to put this one there. This is the one with the Vaseline. And here is an untreated cotton ball. And we're going to light them simultaneously. I was going to do a time comparison between this and the Landmann, but you can see the Landmann's still going pretty strong. Okay, so let's light this cotton ball first and this cotton ball untreated. I don't know how well you can see these. I'll get the Landmann on the side here if I can. Now, which would you like to have in your TP fire? This one or this cotton ball? The answer's pretty obvious. These are cheap to make. It takes a little bit of Vaseline, a couple cotton balls, and a film canister like that. You can get 3 or 4 in there, and it'll give you 3 or 4 fire starters. They're cheap, they're waterproof, and they work fantastic. So, if you want something nice and flat, you can go with the Landmann. If you want something for longevity, the Tinder Cookies are fantastic. If you want something that'll light and float down the river, the wet Tinder works good. Coghlan works good. And if you want something for dual purpose, just take some Doritos along with you or some Fritos. So, other than that, does anybody have any other comments out there on fire starters or things you use to start fires? I know there's a little bit of lag, so I'll wait a bit. Like I said, we have our weekend survival class coming up. Next year we're thinking about changing the format a little bit. We're thinking about adding some intensive classes, still keeping the weekend and full week classes, but there'll be more information about that coming up later in the year. Other than that, if no one else has anything to write in about, we'll be back in 2 weeks, and we'll have another topic, summer related. And thanks for joining us. So see you in 2 weeks.